Hi, I'm Pete, one of the teachers here at Leiths, and today we are going to prepare and cook a lobster. I've got my lovely native lobster from Scotland underneath a cold, damp tea towel. Keeping the lobster cold will help it stay docile and it won't move around because obviously the lobster is alive still. We can tell this one's healthy by the beautiful blue color along its shell. Shell's undamaged. We've got nice glossy eyes, and even though it is quite docile, you can still see the lobster moving. Its antenna, its legs, its claws and its tails will all react to your movement. You always want to make sure the lobster is still alive. The lobster will be dispatched before cooking. You want to cook and process the lobster the day of its arrival. You don't want these sitting in the fridge for longer than 24 hours. Let's get a move on to the next stage where I'm going to prepare and cook the lobster. Lobsters will come in alive. They obviously have quite large claws and they're very powerful. Fishmongers will ensure they are kept closed with a rubber band. Do not remove the rubber band from the claws until the lobster has been completely dispatched. At hand, I have a sharp knife, a blue chopping board, and I'm ready to dispatch my lobster. Along the lobster, there's a really lovely indication of where the knife will enter. A straight line running along and a straight line running across. We want to aim for this cross. This gives us a nice entry point, and then we can go straight through the head of the lobster, instantly dispatching it. Firmly grabbing the lobster in the middle, pointing my knife down into the head, straight in, and knife down to the board. Now, the lobster might still move, but that's just the nervous system reacting. The lobster is completely dead. It has been dispatched humanely and efficiently. My lobster is now ready to be cooked. I have a tray, one skewer, ice water, and a pot of boiling water, and some salt to hand to season the water. I'm going to start by removing the claw, just by twisting and releasing. You may notice that the lobster is reacting to this. It's just the nervous system. We're confident that the lobster is still dead. And to remove the head from the tail, I'm just going to firmly grasp the top of the tail, firmly grasp the head, and just twist to release the tail from the head, just like this. So we have our tail and two claws and the remaining head. I'm going to keep the head separate, but cut in and expose the inside of the head where we can see the liver, which is known as the tamale, and this dark area along the top called the coral. Just before doing anything, I'm just going to remove the rubber bands. It's safe to do this now, as the lobster is clearly dead. And then I'm going to skewer the tail. When the tail cooks, it has a tendency to curl up. We want a nice straight lobster tail, so we are going to skewer this before cooking. The easiest way to do this is to find just where the intestinal tract runs at the top of the tail, and we're going to skewer along the top of the tail right through to the bottom. This will stop any chance of the tail curling and allow us to have a nice straight lobster tail. So a really important step is to season our water. We are aiming for saltiness of the sea, roughly 15 grams per litre of water, or thereabouts. So I've just turned my water down to just a gentle simmer. Obviously lobsters come in very different sizes. This claw, for example, will take maybe 2 to 3 minutes longer to be fully cooked compared with this claw. And the tail meat will take about 6 to 8 minutes to cook. Larger claws will obviously require more time. Smaller tails, larger tails will require more time. So just use your judgment when approaching the cooking times. I've now dropped the claws and the tail into our pot, and we'll start in the cooking process. You'll see the shell start to change color, and by the time the lobster is cooked and removed from the water, the tail and the claws will be a vibrant red. They'll completely lose that blue shine they had to them. I'm going to cook the tail for 6 to 7 minutes. It's not the largest tail in the world. One claw will require 6 minutes cooking, and the other I'm going to leave for a full 8 minutes as it's significantly larger than the other. So I'm just checking my lobster claws. I'm going to remove the slightly smaller claw, plunging it directly into ice water. I'm happy that my tail has had sufficient time to cook. The color has gone to a complete deep red. Just like the first claw, I'm going to submerge the tail into my ice bath, making sure that it's fully submerged. The ice will again shock the tail meat and encourage it to pull away from the shell, and this will make the process of removing the meat from the shell much easier. So I'm going to remove the final claw. This will be the last part of the lobster to enter my ice bath, as it was significantly larger than the other claw. The lobster is getting as much of the cold, icy water as possible. So my lobster's been shocked and in the ice water for 3 minutes. I've set myself up with a sharp chef's knife, a pair of scissors, brown board, and a tray to hold my shells and meat. With the tail out of the water, we want to remove the shell from the tail. Now, the easiest way to do this is simply with a pair of scissors, just to cut along each end of the shell, getting the scissors in and cutting along like this. You need to be quite forceful. The shell is quite tough. And just along the side of the other one. So we've cut along the spiny base, and we can just pull that away, remove that from the base of the tail, and then we can just snap apart the shell and begin to remove our tail meat, keeping as much as possible intact. Just remove the tail meat from the shell, and with a little wiggle at the base, hopefully we can get the tail out completely. Now, it's completely normal for the tail at the base to stay attached, but with a little bit of technique and gentle removal, you can get plenty of meat from the tail. Some little white parts of protein have leached out. Again, completely normal. Just give them a wipe off. They're not too pleasant to eat. I'm just going to set aside the tail meat and then get ready for the removal of the claws. I'm ready to now remove the claw meat. To do this, simply just going to snap the claw off from the arm. Set the arm aside. There is some really good meat in the arm, and with a little bit of work you can pry that out. So we want to remove the claw meat in one whole piece. By doing that, we're going to crack through the shell. We're going to gently remove the shell from the claw and hopefully remove the entire claw in one piece. To do this, I'm going to use a sharp knife, and I'm just going to come down on top of the claw. I'm going to hit it a couple of times, encouraging the shell to snap. Now that that's snapped, I've removed the base of the claw. Then I'm going to turn my attention to the pincer, and with a gentle twist, slightly jarring the pincer and just encouraging a little movement. If I've done this correctly, I will be able to remove the shell and expose the claw meat like that. So from the base, again, being quite gentle, we just want to encourage the meat to slide from the shell. And then we have our whole intact lobster claw. I'm just going to remove any protein that's leached. Again, completely normal. It's just not the most pleasant thing to eat. So I'm going to start by taking a sharp knife, and just about halfway between where the pincer meets the rest of the claw and the base of the claw, I'm going to place a sharp knife, and I'm just going to do a short, confident series of hits. Once the knife's through, I've slightly been able to crack through the shell. I'm just going to encourage the rest of the base of the shell off. Then I'm going to turn my attention to the pincer. I'm just going to slightly twist and sort of jar in a quite a gentle movement, just encouraging the release of the pincer meat. With a little bit of twisting and a little bit of movement, you should be able to remove that, leaving the pincer still attached to the claw. Then finally, from the base, I'm just going to gently again encourage the claw meat to fully remove from the shell, and that is our fully extracted lobster claw. We've removed our 2 claws and whole tail. I'm really happy with that. That's exactly what we're looking for. And then I'm going to just pop my meat in the fridge and keep it for later. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed following along. This is how we prepare our lobster at Leiths. And just remember to follow those really critical key stages. Efficient dispatching of the lobster, cooking times are critical. Parts of the lobster take different times, and also just carefully removing the shell to preserve as much of the meat as possible.